Welcome back to MOAA's Advocacy Update. I'm Cory. This is Mark from the Government Relations team. We're going to talk about the Quality of Life panel that just happened. So, who is it with, and ultimately, what was the purpose of it?
So the House Armed Services Committee's Quality of Life panel had testimony from the senior enlisted advisors across DoD, and their focus was on all of the quality of life challenges that are really facing the force and really impacting the recruiting crisis right now. Of note, the barracks and housing problems, issues with child care, access to health care was a big topic, particularly long wait times just to get an appointment, even for the active component forces, as well as spousal unemployment. So all of those issues were top line testimony to the Quality of Life panel as it's looking to work on the FY25 National Defense Authorization Act.
What were some of the highlights for you from the hearing?
I think that the big highlight was the senior enlisted advisor, the chairman, Black, who was the former Marine Corps Sergeant Major, had this great testimony where he talked about the foundation of the all-volunteer force is based on minimum standards that are expected on all of these issues. And he started off with health care, but it certainly addressed housing, barracks, child care, spouse employment. It hit all of those. And then subsequently, all of the service senior enlisted advisors hit upon those as well.
What really impressed me was they started on script and delivered their prepared remarks, but as they went on, you really saw their true feelings come out.
Mikpan Honea, who had his wife sitting behind him, talked about what it was like when he was a junior enlisted member, and how when they were done paying for rent and utilities and all of their other bills, they usually only had about $50 left for the commissary. And that really affects you, like your choices on being healthy. And so that led to each of the senior enlisted advisors really talking about how BAH and the BAH Restoration Act, which is one of our AIA topics, would really help the average service member and their families.
One of the things that I really liked that he said was it really not only does it help their wallets, but it also helps service members by showing that, uniformed service members are cared about overall. And I think that's a really critical point. And when we only give them 95% of the cost of housing, that says something.
Right, when they're expected to give 100% every day. Representative Bacon talked about how there is a $137 billion deferred maintenance cost on installations. That is a huge bill. And neglecting our installations and all of those critical services that used to be taken for granted, it does make an impact on folks being willing to serve. I think the other significant thing there is that Representative Houlihan, the ranking member, talked about how we've got to honor the commitment to families and how they serve as well. She talked about how, we recruit the service member, we retain the spouse. Families have changed significantly, and perhaps we need to add another pillar to the principles of supporting the all-volunteer force and having that being family support, particularly child care and spousal employment.
One of the areas where I think they could have dug a little bit deeper on was military spouse employment as well. Although they talked a lot about licensure, which is a critical piece of it, it doesn't capture the full spectrum of needs. And I think what service members or their spouses really want is a career to be retained. It's not enough to get your foot in the door as well. And by just focusing on the licensure piece, there's a missed opportunity for them to highlight as well.
That's right. Some of the senior enlisted advisors acknowledge that the quadrennial review of military compensation is in progress, and there is certainly a hard study looking at the frequency of doing PCSs. The more you PCS, the more instability there is, particularly in a spouse's career. And there are cases where we could probably stabilize service members at a duty station longer and allow a spouse to actually foster a career at one location. And it'll also cut costs of PCSing folks That is a very expensive endeavor across the Department of Defense.
We heard a lot of really good things from the Quality of Life panel and the senior enlisted leaders. But how are we going to know if DoD and ultimately the White House wants to make these changes?
Well, we'll see a preview of that commitment sometime around March when the president will release his budget. And we're also going to see Congress's commitment to supporting quality of life initiatives through the appropriations process. So it'll be a push and pull, and we'll be sure to take a hard look at what's underneath the tent when that president's budget comes out.
Right, and ultimately, passing the budget and appropriations is hard, but there's an added layer that we've been experiencing, well, for several years now, through continuing resolutions. What impact does that have?
When we're in a continuing resolution, there's no new starts and no new stops. Lawmakers should be working on the next appropriation, and they're still fighting it out over last year's. So continuing resolutions are awful, particularly hitting service members in impacts where there should be construction starting right now on fixing awful barracks and housing, and that can't start until we're out of a continuing resolution.
Right. Well, Mark, thanks so much for stopping by and telling us all about the Quality of Life panel. And thank you to everyone at home. So be sure to like and subscribe to make sure you're getting all of our latest content.
Be sure to jump onto our Legislative Action Center and smash the button down on the BAH Restoration Act, because we need your help.